I'm here today to speak to you all on the impact of MAP and the at-risk students in the state and the impact thereon. It was former Governor William Winter who said that the road out of poverty runs past the schoolhouse door. No more profound words have been spoken that describe the critical value of education to thousands of at-risk students here in our state. But we are living in a time where for many of these students, this road is plagued with barricades, detours, potholes, and booby traps along the way, limiting their opportunities when they finally do get to a schoolhouse door that should be providing them with an education that could deliver them from a life of poverty, if they had the adequate funding to do so. The U.S. Department of Education outlines over and over again the growing gap between rich and poor, affecting many aspects of our life in this country and state, from health to work to home life. Nowhere, no one place this is supposed to give Americans an equal chance at life is other than the schoolhouse, and it's becoming increasingly unequal. Numerous researchers have well documented increases in the number of extremely poor schools, but now there's even more evidence that poor schools are getting increasingly shortchanged by both states and localities that fund them. In 2005, the U.S. Department of Education pointed out that the richest 25% of school districts receive 15.6% more funds from state and local governments per student than the poorest 25% of school districts. This gap has grown since 2001 and continues to expand. The picture gets even more complicated when you take into consideration federal funding. When federal funding is included in the conversation, almost all of the funding gaps disappear, but the Department of Education says that this is a problem because federal dollars were never intended to act as the equalizer for an unfair playing field set by the scarcity of state and local dollars. So to take a look at Mississippi in a snapshot in a time to get a clearer picture of what is really needed in terms of funding to adequately educate our state's at-risk population, I'm referring to a report from Southern Echo that looked at that time specifically at the at-risk expenditures in Mississippi. And this was during the time of 2006-2007, just to make the point. 65% of Mississippi students enrolled in 2006, 293,220 of them, of the 503,000 qualified as children at risk. More than 6 of every 10 students in the state qualified as being at risk. Now think about how long ago this was. It's more than that now. 41% of Mississippi school districts, that's 63 districts, have enrolled 70% or more children at risk. And the numbers go on, all the way down to talk about 30% and 96.7% of those Mississippi districts with more children at risk. In the school district with the fewest children at risk, 22.78 of the students enrolled, or at least 1 of every 5 of those students is a child at risk. During about the same time when Mississippi last reevaluated the Mississippi Adequate Education Program formula in 2005, the state's expert consultants concluded that the formula should provide an enhancement of 114% above the base student cost. With this in mind, you know that we definitely need more money to cover those students who are at risk. When you look at the 5%, at this particular time, that amount was only $228 more per student to fund the at-risk students, when 114% is needed. I submit to you all that we definitely have to do something to make sure that the at-risk population of students is highly considered in this process. Researcher after researcher says they provide the same information that makes this very clear, and we need to take action to not only make sure that we fully fund MAP, but that we also increase the funding for at-risk students. Any attempt to reconfigure this formula to reduce or divert funding from existing Mississippi school districts would be a direct, intentional assault waged against our most vulnerable citizens, our children and our students. And it would be a devastating blow to the future economic growth of our state.